Hi, welcome to Lala's World. Today's video is how to install laminate flooring tips and tricks. This is not a full tutorial watching me install an entire room or do a full house, but these tips and tricks are for the hardest parts that I personally found the most challenging as I was redoing an entire floor for over 1,000 square feet. The tools I found to be most helpful were spacers, long ruler, rafter angle square, pencil, cutting horse, an oscillating tool, box cutter, rubber mallet, tapping block, and a paint can. Now, if you don't have a paint can, you don't have to go out and buy one, but when I was doing the toilet, I did find that the paint can circle was easiest to trace to fit over the flange area after removing the toilet. I'm not a professional floor installer, and a professional may tell you otherwise, but this is what I used. Also, please make sure you remove any quarter round and cut any door jambs before you start. You can cut the door jambs with the oscillating tool so that the flooring can neatly fit under. Basic install for connections. To connect the width, tilt the laminate piece and connect the thin and thick edge together and lock it. Make sure the seams close and tap it with a mallet. The second row, be sure to tilt the piece lengthwise, then connect. If you need to tap it, go ahead and tap if necessary if you can still see the seam. It gets tricky with the corner connections. I found that if you connect it widthwise, then tilt it as much as you can lengthwise, your connections will be a little bit better and you'll barely see the seams. And then if you need a tapping block, tap it to connect. Cutting and breaking for the end pieces. Turn the laminate piece the opposite way of the side that we'll be connecting and lay it against the wall. Place your ruler at the edge and take your cutting tool and make the line as deep as you can. I personally like to go over it a few times. Next, slide your ruler back a bit and bend the board until it breaks. Turn the piece around and install it. This should give you enough space. I placed the spacer down just to make sure. Again, this is just for example purposes, but when you're doing an entire project, I suggest placing spacers against the wall with tape all around just to make sure you leave enough space for expansion of the floor with temperature changes. Cutting and breaking for angles, corners, door jambs, end walls, and toilets. The principle is the same no matter what you're cutting. If there's a slant or awkward shape, you need to get the flooring neatly around. First, you want to measure for a precise cut and mark the places you need to cut with your pencil. Then, take your piece to your sawhorse and cut the pencil marked area with your oscillating tool. Once you're done, install the piece and it should fit in the space you cut. Here are some of the previous cuts I've made: angles, corners, door jambs, end walls. And I found that, again, for a toilet, a paint can actually helps with tracing. And then you can cut a neat circle and come back and cut more if you have a different size. Tips and tricks. Stagger your install and try not to install in a straight line. When you cut your end piece, you can use the leftover piece for the next row, and that'll help give a staggered look. If you can't connect the seams, tilt the piece lengthwise and then connect it using the mallet and tapping block. You can even use the mallet and tapping block when the piece is tilted in the air. Always use the tapping block to prevent breaking. If you get scratches and chips, you can use a laminate wood marker to minimize any small imperfections. Tape spacers against the wall to make sure you have enough space. For the toilet shape, you can use a paint can to trace, and then with that as a guide, cut out more if needed. For best results, remove the toilet, and the same goes for kitchen appliances. Remove them so that flooring can fit neatly under them. Take your time measuring, and it's okay to go back and cut more if you don't get the cut right the first time. Door jambs can also be cut with the oscillating tool so that the floor can neatly fit under the wood under the door jamb. And also remove old cord around before starting. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. Also, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and check out the other videos on this channel.